But for the month, I'm doing fine. I'm over last month. It seems sometimes what you feel isn't really happening if you're not tracking your numbers. Welcome back to SMPostcards. Welcome to summer. Every year, I always take a little dip. This year, it's been kind of weird. It's up and down. There could be site issues. I've heard different things. People aren't buying, the economy, all this other stuff. Actually, it's kind of nice. It's kind of a little slowdown. Helped me get some other things done. And remember, I'm retired. I'm part-time doing this in YouTube. So this doesn't pay all my bills doing that. The full-timers out there, yeah, they might be scrambling right now, but it's normal every year. On my trend, on my sales graph, it kind of shows that. But I plan for that. I have enough stuff put away to do that. But this agenda right down here is what I go through every video. The first one is what sold. I sold 7 cards. That's it today, overnight. The other day I think I sold 3, then I sold 16, then I sold 20. It's just up and down. I have enough stock listed out there. I'm reaching 53,000 cards, and you'd think I'd sell more. It's just the nature of the business for the cards I sell. Then I have a special topic postcard today, Wizard of Oz. Everybody knows that. They should. If not, get a TV or a book. But remember when I did the movie star video a little while back, a couple weeks ago or so, one of the movie stars I found someone sold for $113.50 in an auction with 6 bids was the original Dorothy. And I put it right up here, the eBay sold listing. That was the original Dorothy. So that spurred me to do a full-fledged Wizard of Oz, and went out there and researched, and I don't have any Wizard of Oz postcards that I know of. If I see them, now I know what they're worth. As we're going to go through, we're going to go through the sell-through rate, a little history about Wizard of Oz, and then we're going to get into pricing and just different things about Wizard of Oz, and maybe if you see them, you'll pick them up and know what to do with them a little bit more than you would now. But if anybody's sold some Wizard of Oz out there or have some of those, send them in contact at SMPostcards.com, and I'll do it on a special topic and just show people what's available, you know, what they might have missed or what they can pick up. Then I had a viewer ask to do a poll, and if you have any poll questions you'd like me to poll the viewers, anything that's been stewing with you that you're not for sure how to do it, or if people do it, or if it's really something I should do, or just got a plain question. No question is, every question someone can ask and someone has an answer for. But this viewer put the poll question out, and I slid it in. I try to slide them in the first 2 weeks or so when I get them. Do you sell postcards and non-postcard items in your eBay store? And we'll talk about that. eBay standard envelope changed a lot of that. And I'll give you the history of my toy store and stuff like that. So when we get into the poll, and I got about 3 comments from that poll too, from other people. So just don't, during these slow times and stuff like that, or you go to a garage sale, or you got something you want to sell, I'm not afraid to put it into the postcard store, and I'll tell you how I do it. Then I got some viewer comments. At the end of every video, I just pull some random comments from YouTube, email, wherever, and then I reply to them. More ad-lib type stuff, but we'll get into that. Now, with vidIQ, I signed up a while ago with vidIQ a long time ago, and they send out a thing in email every time I hit some kind of milestone with the channel, or we do. This one came out, and it was 325,000 views that this channel's gotten over 2.5 years or so. To me, that, just think if you had to put 325,000 people into a room or a stadium. That's a lot of people, and I appreciate it. Thank you for all that and all the support you give in the channel. But 325,000 views, never in my thoughts that I would reach that. And I'm almost at 3,000 subscribers. Probably by the end of July, into August, we'll reach that, which is a huge milestone. I remember trying to get that first 1,000 and get the watch time hours. So it just comes. You lose some, you gain some. People come and get what they want and they leave. They take what they want and leave. That's just the nature of the game. But it seems like what we got here is still growing, and it's growing at a nice pace. It's not killing me to do all these videos and stuff like that. It's not as time consuming as it was in the beginning. I got it down, nice little routine and stuff. But I appreciate everybody, and thanks again. Let's get into what's sold. Now, I go through these every time just to show you what's selling. Today's only 7 cards. It's not going to take too long. The first one I sold is At the Forks in the Road, Contenton, New York. It's just a road. It's a fence. And it was posted in 1913. I really didn't know what to do with it. Didn't find any comps. And it sold for $4.75. It's on that non-type press paper. Not really linen stuff. It's that older paper you can feel. But it's just some roads. I didn't do much with it. So $4.75. Next one I sold a Navy ship. This is the General Hugh J. Gaffey. This is on a thicker cardstock, like regular cardstock on there. And that's an older ship right there. USS General Hugh Gaffey, T-AP-121 is the name. And it looks like it's a coal burner, oil burner, with the smoke coming out. That sold for $4.75. Next one is a church. Now churches, I found, what's important with churches is the city and the town is pretty big. That's what usually kicks off saved searches, and the people that go to churches are pretty loyal to their church, and if they find one with an older picture, or they collect the churches. This one is the Trinity Episcopal Church, Newark, Ohio. So what do you think sold that? Episcopal Church or Newark, Ohio? Unposted, divided back card. I think that's what sold it. So that's sold for $7.65. So not too bad for a church card. Then I sold the Open Pit Copper Mine, Santa Rita, New Mexico. It's a copper mine. It's in there. That's a mine. 1943. It would look like it's been posted. I think it's a real photo. I'm not for sure. I'd have to. Yeah, that's a real photo postcard. Kind of saw the back, so I put my loop on it to see if there's any dots, and it's a real photo, but it really didn't say much. I didn't find a lot of comps on it and stuff, so I just put it out there for $4.75. So hopefully whoever gets it, if they reseller, they can do something more with it. But that one sold. Another Navy ship on a lighter cardstock, USS Blandy, DD 943, $4.75. Remember, I put a lot of baseball postcards up. This is the Rich Dower, Baltimore Orioles, Memorial Stadium. Real light paper, not regular cardstock, but it's got the postcard back. That's an older player probably on there. Sold him for $4.75. They're long tail, I can tell you. The baseball cards, unless it's a real famous person or whatever, they're pretty average cards and they do sit. So my baseball cards have been sitting out there, but I do sell them every so often. And then I sold them the Bristol Cone Pine, oldest known living thing. Looks like a tree. Oldest known living thing. I wonder what I put in the title of that. $4.75. So that was 7 cards. Easy packing day, throw them in the mailbox, I'm done. $37.92 was the total dollars after everything, in there. But if you take $37.92 divided by 7, I had a $5.42 average sale price on the cards I sold today. So not too bad. A little lower day than usual. I want to hit 16 cards a day, $80 a day, raise the ASP, and be very picky about what I buy. And that's all I did today. But for the month, I'm doing fine. I'm over last month. It seems sometimes what you feel isn't really happening if you're not tracking your numbers. I've had some really good days this month, and then it slows down and it picks back up. So overall, I always end the month where I need to be. For the year, I'm about 14 cards a day average, so I'm only 2 off of my goal. I'm way over to $80 a day because I had some really good months there at the beginning of the year. So I have enough room to play with to reach my goals, and if I do that, that's about $30,000 a year gross. I'm going to put about $1,000 to $1,200 in my pocket a month because I keep my expenses real low. A lot of times when sales drop and you have times like this, a lot of people try to cut corners. And then they go out and spend on buying more stuff and listing. That's your liquid cash you might need to pay your bills or put in your pocket and stuff. You don't want to cut the wrong corners. I see people jamming stuff in smaller boxes and using the wrong packing material or not taking the offer that they would have and stuff like that. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get the cash coming in. The cash flow keep moving. But a lot of people throw sales on. They're just jumping all over the place because they have a short week or one bad month. I just stay the course and let it trend out and see what it's doing. Over last year, I'm about flat, a side trend they call it. It goes a little bit up, 2-3% up, 2-3% down. It just depends on the week or the month. But year to date, it's about normal what I'm doing last year. And I'm fine with that because I did fine last year. Now, a couple years ago, when the lockdown and stuff like that, did a lot more. So I think there's a little bit of reset, but there's a lot of variables out there. So pick what you want, listen to what you want, but watch the cutting the corners. Me, with slow months like this, I just don't buy. I run my stock down. I have enough supplies. I always do that. I still buy supplies and stuff. I'm not going to buy 10,000, 20,000 envelopes this month to get me through the year because I won't spend it. I can get envelopes within 7 days. I can get boxes, all that stuff. Let them carry your inventory. Don't spend the money. You might need it. But if you get that one deal of a lifetime comes in, yeah, you got to buy it. Hopefully it doesn't come in during your slow months. But that's sales stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about that, about selling stuff with the poll today. But I wanted to talk about Wizard of Oz postcards. I wanted to learn a little bit more about the Wizard of Oz postcards but I wanted to learn a little bit more because that one Dorothy, the original Dorothy, I never knew that. So I'm going to give you some history about Wizard of Oz and some facts. And while I do that, I'm going to show you some postcards out there of Wizard of Oz, some older ones, some newer ones. And while I read this to you, here we go. The Wizard of Oz is an enchanting tale about a young girl named Dorothy who gets swept away from Kansas home by a tornado and lands in the magical land of Oz. With her loyal dog Toto by her side, she embarks on a journey to find her way back home. Along the way, she meets new friends like the Scarecrow, the Tin, Woodman, and the Cowardly Lion, each with their unique desires. Together they face challenges and obstacles, including the Wicked Witch of the West, as they follow the yellow brick road to the Emerald City to seek help from the powerful wizard. Dorothy and her friends encounter many fantastical creatures, overcome their fears and doubts as they travel through the colorful and wondrous land of Oz. Along their journey, they discover the true meaning of friendship, courage, and determination. With each obstacle they overcome, they grow stronger and closer together, forming the unbreakable bond that they have. Through their adventures, they learn that home is not just a place, but a feeling of belonging and love. In the end, Dorothy discovers that she had the power to return home all along with the help of the magical ruby slippers given to her by Good Witch of the North. Through her journey in Oz, Dorothy learns valuable lessons about bravery, kindness, and importance of believing in oneself. As she wakes up back in her own bed in Kansas, she realizes there's no place like home, but she always cherished the memories and friendships she made in the land of Oz. Wizard of Oz postcards trace their history back to the earliest 20th century when L. Frank Baum's beloved tale captured the imagination of readers worldwide. The first postcards featured characters from The Wizard of Oz were produced shortly after the release of the original book in 1900, capitalizing on the story's immediate popularity. These postcards depicted iconic scenes and characters such as Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, captivating fans and collectors alike. Over the decades, Wizard of Oz postcards evolved in style and design, reflecting enduring fascination with Baum's fantastical world and its timeless appeal to audience of all ages. That was a little history about Wizard of Oz and some information, but I found two facts that I thought were interesting to me. In the original 1900 novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, by L. Frank Baum, Dorothy's iconic slippers were actually silver, not ruby red. It was only in the 1939 film adaptation that they were changed to ruby red to take advantage of the newly popular Technicolor technology. So the original slippers were silver. And if anybody's ever watched the documentary about the slippers being stolen, they were actually stolen from a museum, and I guess the original thief came back and they went into a lake and some other stuff. It was kind of captivating to watch. I watched it a while ago. I can't remember all the details, but look out there on Netflix or whatever, or just search about the theft of Dorothy's slippers from the museum. Interesting read. The other fact is the actor who played the Tin Man, Jack Hawley, suffered from severe allergic reaction to the aluminum dust for makeup, used in his makeup. As a result, he had to take long breaks during filming and often required medical attention. Oh my God, what these guys go through. I think I've read that before, that makeup was just bad for you. But that's a little history about Wizard of Oz. Hope it gets your curiosity up. I'm sure everybody's heard of it, read the book in school or whatever. If you haven't, watch the show. I've watched it a few times over the years, more, just even though I saw it many times before. But will the wizard let us sell these? What is the magic about these cards? Do they sell? So how I gauge and pick up cards, something that helps me. It's not everything I do, but it's easy to show people in my mind how I think when I'm looking at cards, and it's sell-through. I use this little chart here that in my head there's red, green, and darker green. The red stuff is lower stuff, Mount Vernon, Niagara Falls. Yeah, they might sell, but they don't have a lower chance of selling than the other ones per what's happening in eBay, and I'll show you how I calculate that. But the 4 to 10% is usually where I work. $48 cards, towns, cities, churches, as you saw, boats, Navy ships, stuff like that. I look for those because while I'm looking for those, I find the darker green, the very high ones, the 11 plus sell-through rates. It just gives you a guide, and I just want to put it in a range. I'm not looking for the last card thing, because if I query Postcard Wizard of Oz in eBay right now, 20 minutes later I'm going to get a different number. Things change. That's why I use a range. Is it going to fall into 4 to 10% as something I should pick up, or is it really good, or is it really bad? I can't remember all the numbers. I just know green, red, and dark green. So I go out there to eBay, and I just put in there Postcard Wizard of Oz is what I put out there. And I click sold, which clicks completed. Some people get all semantics about completed. I just want to get a number, see if it falls in a range. 65 are sold. Then I unclick that and it gives me the listed. It gives me a little number at the top up there. That's all I'm looking for. 387 are listed. That's all that are listed out there for Wizard of Oz. And it's 65 sold, so you take 65 divided by 387. You times it by 100 to get a percent. And then I round that up or down, because people like a solid percent. I can't remember 7.3, 7.4, but I can remember 17. And that's what it is. It gives me a 17% sell-through rate to what's on eBay in the last 90 days when I did the query. And if you look at my chart, that's in the very high. It's definitely a card I will pick up if I get it for a good price. Some people will price these up $20. No, I'm not going to pick that card up. If it's $1 or $2, I probably will pick that card up. But you need to take this 17% and see if it really falls in there. Is it true? Did I do it right? So I go out there and I usually find 3 other things, and just to see if it helps. So here's the other ones right here. The Wizard of Oz is 17%. Then I did Alice in Wonderland, which is another story. There's 100 sold and 640 listed. 16%. So Alice is doing pretty good. Dorothy's doing pretty good. What about Mary Poppins? There's only 4 out there with 36 listed. 11%. So then you got Harry Potter, which is a newer fairy tale type thing. Everybody knows what Harry Potter is a 9%. So the newer ones aren't as good as the older ones, but it's still up there in the high and very high. So any of these character stories and stuff will do very well. but Wizard of Oz 17%. That's pretty good, and that'll be a card on my list. I don't see them that often. I don't remember seeing any in the lots I've gotten and stuff like that. But if you see Wizard of Oz, they have a pretty good chance of selling. Now, sell-through rate is about how many cards are moving through the eBay system, not what the price is and stuff like that. But what drives sell-through rate, the cards that sell, is price and stuff like that, what you promote, offers. There's so many variables. So that's why I just look at sell-through rate real quick and there. Then I go back and then I look at the prices. Is it really worth to do anything with them? The first thing I do is I look at the high watermark. What is the highest these cards are selling in a consistent thing? Not the real high ones that are graded and stuff. I throw those out. I throw the 90-cent, $1.99 cards out, the auctions and stuff, because those can swing it either way. I don't work in those two areas. I work down the middle average. But I found two cards out there. I call it extreme pricing. The first one was a rare, hard to find, 1906 Fred A. Stone Scarecrow. 1902, so they got two different dates here. 1902 was a stage production. So you got a 1906 and 1902, so maybe this is a picture of the 1902 thing. A little confusing. If you think about it, you can probably figure it out. But stage production, it's the Scarecrow, and they put it in auction. And it's a real photo, $105.49. Got 5 bids, and they did ground advantage of $535. That's not a bad deal, and it's a real photo. So that title, even though it's a little cryptic and stuff, confusing could be to some people. It's people knew what they wanted on this. They're loyal to Wizard of Oz. Then the next one I found was 1903 Frank Albaum. I think I'm saying that name right. Correct me if I don't. I'm the worst with names. I apologize up front. Original Wizard of Oz Broadway show postcard. I think Carter & Carter might be the publisher. $79. So if you look at both of these are early 1900 ones that went for the higher money. The second one doesn't look like a real photo. It doesn't say it or whatever, but the first one was. So if they're early Wizard of Oz, give it a second or third look. But then you get back to normal, the average stuff that we see that we're going to pick up and stuff like that. You're going to find in lots and stuff. I found 3 of them here. The second one is pretty cool. Wizard of Oz. The first one is Wizard of Oz play postcard Montgomery and Stone. Not for sure Montgomery and Stone. Someone can help me with that. What am I missing? Is that the character's name? I thought it was Holly was a Tin Man. $22.50. And if you look at that photo, they didn't have a scanner. They just put it on a table, and it sold for $22. So postcards will sell without a scanner. If you're just starting out, you don't have the money to buy a scanner, you're not for sure if this is what you want to do, it's just something you're putting your toe in the water just to see if you can sell, and you want to use your camera, that's what you do. I would probably center it a little bit better, get it a little closer, use a different background with a camera, and then when you start selling them, you can get a scanner. And you can find them pretty cheap out there. The 400, Epson 400, it's a good workhorse. Everybody used those for years. I got one of those, and I have the 580W, the new one, wireless, because I like the hopper and the LCD screen, but they still sell. So with all this algorithm and everybody saying you got to have white backgrounds and good photos and stuff, it's still sold over another card. It's a nice to have, it's a piece of the puzzle to do good photos and stuff, but this guy sold it by taking a picture with a camera, not a scanner. But scanners are productivity savers, and it does look a lot better. But it's still sold. The next one, I had to put this one in there. Everybody knows I love Wiki Watching Mermaid postcards. I did a whole video on them. They do well and stuff like that. This is the mermaids doing the Wizard of Oz play or characters. Wizard of Oz mermaid scene. Wiki Watching Springs, Florida postcard. Took a best offer on $14.98, maybe $12. That is really cool. I don't remember reading about a Wizard of Oz mermaid thing, but just think, you got mermaids, you got Wizard of Oz, the whole works. I mean, the whole gambit would be great to pick up. And then you get the Wizard of Oz Munchkin midgets. I'm not for sure what the politically correct name is of little people, midgets and stuff. But back in the day, that's what they called it in here on the postcard, midgets. It's just part of history. It's nothing going against the name and stuff like that. The Harvey Williams Music Troupe, a real photo from the 1930s, $12.98. And that was a best offer. You think if they put that on an auction, would they have done it like the other ones? Not for sure. Are the Munchkins a little more harder to sell? But they still got $13 for that. So there's a lot of older cards out there, and there's probably a lot of newer ones. If you see the older ones, really take a look at them. I would pick up anything Wizard of Oz if you get it for a good price on there. But I thought this was a neat topic after I did that other one. And now I know more about Wizard of Oz than I ever thought about postcards with them. And I definitely will keep my eye open for these. But like I said, if anybody's got Wizard of Oz collection or something like that of postcards, send it in to show and tell. I'd love to see it. I'm sure everybody else would love to see it too. And if you sold some good ones or you got some for sale, just send it in. I have no problem on there. And or even if you have a channel or stuff like that, you want me to call it out on a video. That's what show and tell's for. I would love to get like 5 or 6 stores or whatever I can call out on a channel and use this platform to get the selling out there. There's room for everybody in selling postcards. It's such a big market, and it just really, more competition drives the market and gets more people interested. And I think it'll help with prices and stuff if people are educated instead of throwing them up for 99 cents. Click your heels. There's no place like home. Wizard of Oz. Who knew? Now we're going to get into this poll that one of the viewers wanted me to put out there, and I slid it in. And I'll do that. I have another one in my email right now I got to put together, and I'll put it in, and I'll send a message to the viewer that asked about it, what video it'll be in, so that they know when it is. But this person asked if I can put this in, and it said, do you sell postcards and non-postcards in your eBay store? So they're saying I sell postcards and I sell something else, non-postcards on there. 80% said yes. Any reseller's probably going to find stuff and put it up there. And 14% said no, they're just strictly postcard sellers. I would say I'm on the fence a little bit, but I do have other things. I have some lunch boxes. I still can't get away from the action figures, because when I see a good one, I know a lot about those. I'm not going to pass it up. I saw one the other day for $3. It's a $60 action figure. I just picked it up. It's sitting over in the corner over there on the shelf. And when I get around to it, I put up there. It's not my mainstay. Postcards is what I want to do, but when I see a certain figure, or I see something with Super Friends or DC or Marvel, I pretty well know what to pick up. And if I can get it for a really good price, I'll put it in my stack over there. So I got a bunch of lunch boxes over there. I collect a lot of them, but I don't really sell a lot, and I should. But that's just the side thing. Postcards is what I do now. That's what I decided to do in 2023. But I got some comments. Ashley said, right now I sell vintage postcards, and I have sold some old photos and other paper ephemera. Have been thinking about listing some. I see that a lot too. A lot of people do postcards and other ephemera. Ephemera is paper type stuff that was not made to last forever. Tickets, postcards, it's like a 1 or 2 use and throw away, is kind of ephemera. Paper, billheads, letters, stock things, all that's like ephemera. So she sells other things. So I see that a lot in the postcard world. A lot of people do postcards and ephemera, because you get that together a lot. I pretty well stay away from some of the stuff that doesn't fit my little white boxes. I have some friends that resell that I send all that stuff to. When they get something out of Kobe store, I just jam up their box with a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, there might be some money into it, but I'm just not set up now to do all these big letterheads and stuff. I don't ship all that unless it's really, really good. I just let them deal with it and stuff. Years ago, I'd sell anything, but anymore, I'm very strict about my time and stuff like that. Thanks, Ashley. And then Vintage Housewares says, Vintage Housewares in my shop too. Wonder what other postcard sellers did. Thanks for posting this poll, Mark. This is from the viewer. They have housewares. They have other things. You can sell different things in an eBay store. There's a thing right now people are talking about. Take all your low value stuff, sell-through rate stuff out of one store and open another store. Or don't put this stuff in your store, just put this in your store. That's just another expense, another thing you have to look at, another thing you got to deal with, another email address, another payout. It just adds to the complexity of your business for a small amount of return. eBay has categories inside a store. I have a category of all the postcards, the ships, the states, and stuff like that, so people can find the postcard they're looking for pretty easily. I also have a category called lunch boxes. When I list a lunchbox, it goes in that category. So people are looking through postcards, they can go to the postcard category and stay right there. If they're looking through something, they see lunchbox, they stay in lunchbox. Who wants to look through 50,000 postcards to find their one lunchbox? So by getting another store, I think is not correct, because you're adding another expense. So say you get another store and it costs you $20 a month. That's $200 a year that you're putting stuff over there that's not, you're just adding complexity. I had two stores. I had the toy store and I had the postcard store. I had Etsy, I had Hip. I had all these things. When I first started, I had just the toy store. It was an anchor store with all the stuff. That's how much stuff. I did a lot of new stuff. Just tons and tons of. I don't think the postcard store went to anchor store. The toy store stayed premium. But I had 8,000 to 10,000 listings a lot on the toy store. It was just a lot to manage. But when I first started, I put the toys and I started putting postcards in there. The problem was postcards back then were stamping a label. I didn't have any tracking, so it was hurting the metrics in the toy store. So I went and I opened a different store because of the tracking, and I knew I'd be above standard. So I had a toy store that was top rated, and I had a postcard store with shipping with a stamp and a label because eBay standard envelope wasn't around, and I was above standard and I sold postcards. So I had two stores going, and how I did that is I put one on Microsoft Edge, the internet browser, and then I put one on Google. So I didn't have to sign in every time, so I can just flip back and forth on my computer. So on Google Chrome I loaded, and then I had Microsoft Edge, is how I did that. So I didn't have to jump back and forth. But then eBay standard envelope came out. You didn't need to split that up anymore because it hurt your metrics in the toy store. Now you got some type of tracking, and everybody became top rated. So I wish that was out there before I got rid of all the toys. So to add different stores, I don't think is right. You're just adding more complexity, more expenses. Everybody at first says, oh, this is easy, I can do two stores. And that type of stuff, where you got to turn your head and watch things, it can get old over time. It did with me. So just watch what you're hearing out there. And people say that helps the algorithm and stuff like that. There's nothing in writing that tells me that. There's nothing I can put my finger on to say that. I've never had that. I never did a test on that. It would be really hard to test. But I just think it's not the right thing to do. So use categories is what I recommend. But thanks for that. Then Larry Way Out said, postcards are 5.7% of my eBay inventory. So basically 6% of his inventory of postcards. I'm an everything seller when my largest sales category is records, and was only 10% of my sales last year, is what Larry did. So 6% postcards, and he sells everything else. He'll sell anything, and 10% as the largest category. So he has postcards, records, and everything else in the store, and it sells. Why get another store? Why pay all the fees and stuff for that? $20 a month and $5 postcard. That's 4 postcards you got to sell just to pay for that store every month, and then you got another store. So you got to sell 8 to 10 postcards just to pay for your store fee, just the store, not counting your other fees. That's crazy. So some people, that's a whole 2 days of selling postcards, or a whole day. Like today, I only sold 7 cards. Everything I made today would go to pay this eBay, and I would do that every month. But thanks, Larry. Then Jungle Man, I sell antique and vintage items, which includes jewelry, knives, and photos, old magazine ads, Christmas items, automotive parts, etc., plus 4,500 plus postcards. So he's got a good mix. He's targeting the nostalgia antique audience, and he has different targeted things, probably categories in his store. Not a lot of people buy by stores, but once they get in there and know who you are, and they know you got a category for that, That's your followers. When you put new stuff up, people get tagged with that stuff and save searches. So if they can go in, it's like a department store, and do that, pick it up. Like with the toy store, I had DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, all these categories. So if there's DC fans and there's Marvel fans, sometimes they don't mix. They just want to find the Marvel stuff. They want X-Men. DC, they like Super Friends, Superman, Batman, and stuff like that. So they want to stick in there what they collect. And it's a different world with the action figures compared to postcards. And there. So that's how I think of selling other things in your store. Anything to make money, I'll pick it up, but I'm very careful now. If it doesn't fit in my boxes, I pretty well don't get it. But I do find stuff for other resellers. In Ko-Fi, I have a little section called auction finds. So if I find something that I really don't want to sell, I got it for a good price, I'll just put it up there. And for basically a little bit over the price I did just to pay the fees, I got it because I know a reseller out there might want to sell it. I'm not going to turn my head because someone can make some money on it. I'm not looking to make money on everything, on stuff like that. So check Ko-Fi and check that auction finds. As the summer goes, I'll probably find a little bit more. It's hit and miss sometimes, but I've sold a few things out of there, and people have probably made some money on it or used it on there. That's the poll. The SMPostcards Ko-Fi shop has a collection of postcard supplies to meet your reselling needs. From protective sleeves to envelopes and tantalizing postcard lots, we have everything you need to enhance your reselling experience. But that's not all. If you sign up as a member in either the white border or divided back tier, you're entitled to an incredible 40% discount on all items purchased in the shop. Whether you're a seasoned seller or just starting your postcard reselling journey, this discount is here to make your reselling experience even better. Stock up on top quality supplies. Visit the SMPostcards online Ko-Fi shop today and transform your postcard reselling to the next level. To see more, follow the link in the video description below. Viewer comments come from everywhere. YouTube, eBay, emails. I get a lot of emails. A lot of people don't comment on videos. Ever since I opened up the email stuff, it's contact@SMPostcards.com. I correspond with a lot of people there. And I keep those more private. If you put it in YouTube, I consider it public because everybody can see it, and I could use it in a video. Emails, if I use it, I'll take the name out, or I'll ask the people, hey, can I use this or whatever. And most of them do. But I just get questions, and people like the email part of it, maybe a little bit better. But I got 1, 2, 3, 5 comments, so it'll go pretty quick. The first one is from Amazing Carp DM. How funny. I'm new to postcards, and I thought this would be a video about keep track and cataloging and logging postcards. I looked at that for a second. I'm sitting there, what is he talking about? And then, I seen the thumbnail. It's this video here about logging, cutting trees. So this person thought it was logging postcards, which is cataloging and logging and stuff like that. Then I got it. I can see how you can get confused with that. So thanks for sharing, Amazing. That's kind of funny. When I thought about it first, what is the guy talking about? And then I figured it out. So, but yeah, that video was on logging. So thanks for sharing. And then Dr. Chris, Fossil Forward Finds. I think your research is about in line with what I experienced with actor postcards. I've had some musicians and got $20 or up, but not the norm for me. So his norm is not the $20. His norm is probably the average price. I'd say the more recent actors and musicians do better for me. Yeah, from the 70s up to now, 80s probably. The newer stuff people know about, the Rock Hudsons and those things like that. I don't sell those as well. But the newer ones, out there, people are getting in there. And the new people really don't have postcards out there. But if you get into the 70s, 80s and stuff, and 90s, I think it's all there. But thanks, Chris. Then Faye Berries. Thank you for replying to my comment. So far I have listed 440 cards and sold 36. I have had to slow down my listing as I am nearly reaching my listing limit. This has made sales slow down too. Hopefully I will be allowed more at the end of the month. I will make sure to spread them out across the month in the future. Yeah, So I replied to him, I said, you can always ask for more when you start a postcard store or start any store on eBay, even if you've been on selling. When I had the toy store and I was selling for years, and I was, a top rated seller, I created the postcard store. I could only list like 10 for the first month. And I asked for more and they didn't give it to me. And then the second month they gave me a lot more. And finally I got a hold of someone and they asked me a question. They said, how much are you going to sell each one of these for? I said, $5. And how many did you want? I said, can you give me 1,000? So there's two numbers they had to put in there. One is the number of listings, and number two is the dollar of listing. If you look at your listing limits, there's numbers and dollars. But it's been a long time since I did that. It might have changed. But those are the numbers I'll look for. It took me about 6 months to finally get it like an unlimited level. So I mentioned to Fayberry, hey, you might want to ask. He said he did that. He's got to wait. So when you do that and you're waiting, don't get upset about that. Use that time to figure out how you're going to store them, watch videos, and learn if you're new to postcards. And then it'll pick up. It'll go by fast to get there. But eBay does that because they're not going to allow new sellers to come in and just load up the stores. They want to see if you're a good seller or stuff like that. And I don't think that's wrong. But by get your store, get your categories together, you can do a lot of stuff while you're waiting on there. But like he said, he's going to space it out. I know you can schedule now for free. So if you want to go in and they give you a limit of 100, you can go in and put so many a day in and just get it done and just let them kick off every day, and they'll be new to eBay. But the number one thing about listing limits, you want to get a store where you're not in the future concerned about listing numbers. A lot of people have the old eBay theory is, oh, I only get 50 listings a month. I'm over it. I'm not going to list anymore. That's not Fayberry's problem. The problem is he's limited right now with the store. His store level might be, he can have 1,000 listings, but his newness, they're not going to let him have 1,000, even though he's paying for a store for that because he's new. But it will get up to that. What the other people do is they'll just do the free listings, or they'll say, okay, I can't list anymore. I can't do that. I got to wait till next month. You want to get that off the table, because with postcards, especially average cards like I sell, you got to have quantity and variety. Just get that off the table. Just don't even worry about listings or how many you have. Now I'm coming up, I got 53,000 or so listings. With a premium store for $60 a month, I can have 10,000 listings plus 50,000 free listings they gave us. So I can have 60,000 listings for a premium store of postcards. Certain categories you can do that, and postcards is one. I'm at 53,000. We still got the rest of the year to go. I'm not going to go over 60,000. If I'll go over a little bit, the cost isn't going to be that much, but I'm not going to open another store. I'm not going to be the biggest seller out there. So I'm pacing myself now. I try to list 50 cards a day average, but I figured out I'm going to be over, so I'm adjusting that as I go. Some days I list 10, some days I list 20, some days 30, and stuff like that. It just depends what I'm selling too, so I want to try to equal that out. And I have all the inventory here, and I'm hitting my goals. I'm cleaning the boxes out every month. But I'm getting to a point where I've had to hold off on the last month because the sales were down a little bit. So I don't want to go over that. It doesn't make sense to have all those cards and stuff being part-time and retired like I am. But he wants to grow, and that's what it is. So thanks, Faye. Postcard guy, Kevin. He said Basil in the movie star video, and I'll put it up here, Basil Rathbone was Sherlock Holmes in the movies. So he knew who that guy was. I can watch a movie and I couldn't even tell you the actors most of the time. Faces and stuff doesn't click with me, but some people can just rattle off names and know who these people are. But Kevin knew who Basil Rathbone was, and he was Sherlock Holmes in the movie. Thanks, Kevin. Now, Dan said, one other thing about eBay Standard Envelope. I only recently started buying single postcards on eBay as I started a small collection of my hometown. And a lot of sellers are using top loaders with eBay Standard Envelope. At least 5 of the 20 or so cards I bought use them, including a few Chrome cards priced less than $4 each. Isn't that just gambling that your buyer going to get stuck paying for the non-machinable charge? I feel bad for pricing a lot of cards at $19.99 or less mark to give my buyers a deal, yet shipping just in the EcoSwift with no top loader, and people shipping $3 cards are using top loaders. So he hits on a few things here. You gotta figure out what you got into it. If I'm selling this $4, $5 card here, I'm going to put it in a new sleeve and I'm going to put it in here and that's it. There's no reason to put that $4 or $5 card in a top loader. These things were made to be mailed. They're not going to get damaged. The corners are going to be fine and stuff like that. Now if you get up and some people don't even do it with the bigger cards. The larger cards until $30, $40 cards and stuff like that, they'll still just put in an EcoSwift. They're fine. But if you're using a top loader for a card like that, those top loaders can be expensive. And number two, like he said, it can become too stiff for the postcard, for the machines to go around things, and they're going to charge you package price. They're going to non-machinable. There's a cost for that. And I've heard of a lot of people having that issue. I haven't had that issue because I don't jam these full with a lot of cards. I make them stiff. I went to those boxes. I don't sell a lot of cards that go into boxes or top loaders. I'm more the average card. So when I do, I'll use a box and stuff like that, and they pay ground advantage and send it out, so I don't get into any of those problems. I'll spend the extra $2 myself to do the box if the guy bought a $40 card. It's a good presentation. But people have to watch. So what I did is I didn't use a stiffener and stuff like that. I just started sending out in envelopes, and I started sending out there with this and see how it does. Nobody's had a problem with it. Out of the thousands and thousands of postcards I've sold, no one's had an issue. And a lot of the other sellers I know too use the same method. So I adopted that. Now I will use these things are cheap. These penny sleeves. You get 100 per pack. The envelopes are 12 to 14 cents. Just make sure you get all that calculated into what you're selling postcards for. But like he said, he puts a lot of stuff at $19.99 because eBay standard envelope, each item has to be $20 or under, and the whole order can't be over $50. So I see a lot of pricing at $19, $18, $19, so they stay with the eBay standard envelope. I've done that, and people have been here, I think, have done that as well. But don't overthink it. This Chrome card, putting it in an EcoSwift, I'm not going to put a stiffener in there. I'm not going to do all that stuff for a $4 to $5 card. These will be fine, as long as it doesn't crease all the way down. But these are made to be mailed, and they're stiffer on there. Now, if it's one that's real expensive and stuff like that, yeah, they go in boxes and a top loader, waterproof, stuff like that. These are a little bit water resistant. They're not waterproof. And with the sleeve on there, I haven't had any issues with it. And I like these because they don't have to do this to get them into any slots. These will fit in almost any mailbox. And they're self-sealed on there. I have some in the Ko-Fi store if you want to check out a small pack, just see if they work for you. But people, you can put 3 to 4 postcards in that envelope for 1 ounce. Where you get into the bigger, heavier ones with the tear tabs and stuff like that, and they're real thick, that's 2 ounces, so you're already at 84 cents. And in the postcard roll, every margin you can do to get it right in there, on there. So don't pay a lot for the big, heavy postcard envelopes for average cards. Just try these on there. I don't care for the number 10 envelopes, and I don't care for any paper envelopes because they're water absorbers. And the post office nowadays, they're just putting them in there and stuff like that. I like these on this stuff, but I think you're thinking right, Dan. People, it's too much for people. They're losing money, unneeded. And a lot of people say, well, my feedback says shipping good, shipping fine, shipping good, shipping fine. If you look at everybody's feedback, that's what everybody puts in there. It's an indicator you can look at to see if you did something wrong. But to do it right, everybody says it's ship fine, ship good, ship fine, ship good. But I just looked at feedback and see if they're saying, well, packed wrong, packed wrong, packed wrong. Then you might want to change up. That's about the only thing I really look at feedback for. But if you really want to know how people pack and mail postcards they sell. Go out there and buy 10 postcards from 10 different sellers, or watch this video. Do not bend. I went through 25 postcards that I bought, and we looked at the packaging, and that'll give you a good idea there. I think that's the second time I did that, or whatever. I'll probably do another one in the future. I just go out randomly over 6 months, just buy postcards. What I'm not really looking to roast people, but I'm looking to bring to us what people do. If there's anything innovative, anything new. That's how I found out about these a long time ago. Is I went out and tested the market and see, and then I just resell the postcards. I don't sell them all, but the cards I get, I try to make sure I get the good ones, and I can just ring and get my money back. But that's what I do. Wizard of Oz. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Make some cash on those. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. I'm going to throw some more fish up here. Thanks.